it took me quite a few times. I rewrote it and then I was like, could I draw this? And then it just kept falling into place. And then I finally published.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today I have with me JR Kopenski. And Becca, just thank you so much for joining us and coming on to talk about your children's book that you both wrote and illustrated, as well as your journal that you published too. We'll get into the details of each of those. I think it'll be a really fun conversation. I haven't yet interviewed anybody who has actually illustrated their children's book as well as wrote it. So it'll be a conversation I think that we're going to have today. It'll be an interesting one. So first, before we get into all of those questions about business decisions and marketing decisions, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, awesome. Rachel, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited. So I'm 28 years old. I have had a lot of different jobs in the last few years. As I'm leading up now, I've just joined full-time ministry. And so I'm literally 2 weeks out from moving and starting my life completely over in a new state and all that stuff. And
Where are
so
you
just kind
headed?
of Minnesota.
Oh, fun. I
Yep.
did an internship right after college in Minnesota. So
Oh, cool.
kind of got a little special spot in my heart for Minnesota.
Same. I know, same. I'm joining their discipleship program as staff, but I was a student in it in Minnesota back in
Oh, fun.
2014. So I'm like, it's like part of me is I'm going home. Like,
Yeah. Full circle moment.
it does. A lot of full circle moments. But yeah, as far as writing and stuff, I've been writing ever since I was a really little girl. And it's just morphed from a paragraph story to short stories to semi-long short stories to now I'm a published author. So it's been
That's
a really
exciting.
awesome journey over the last 2 decades of my life.
I love to hear that. I love to hear that. Like, I can hear it in your voice, your love for writing and love for storytelling. And that's always fun. I think it's fun to have conversations with other people that are as much love with storytelling as I am, because I
Yes.
love a good story.
Yes.
It I just think there's something so powerful about communicating ideas and truths
Mhm.
through the medium of storytelling. And I think
Yeah.
that it's so neat that we have examples of Jesus doing that in the Bible with the
hmm
parables. And I
Yeah.
just think it's like a unique thing that we get to steward as
hmm
writers and to be able to
Yeah.
steward that creativity. So I just love talking to people who
Yeah.
love
Same.
storytelling.
Same.
So how did you decide to publish this? Because you self-published this children's
Mhm.
book and you
Yeah.
both wrote and illustrated it. And so what kind of led you to that moment where you made that decision to
Yeah.
self-publish it?
Yeah. I love the story of how Silly Jenny and the Great Jelly Bean Heist came to be. It's, I love talking about it. So I wrote the short story of Silly Jenny. It was like 2 paragraphs long at that point. It's probably maybe like total 3 or 4 paragraphs now, but it was very short. It was a few years ago when I was working at an after school program through the YWCA. And one of the like programs that I would do with our elementary students was a writing group because got
Oh,
to do my passions with them. And so we would do like these like writing prompts and stuff.
hmm
And so the one writing prompt it was called a roll a story. So you would take a dice and there was like 3 like columns. So there is like the like your main character, there's a setting, and then what happens. And so I rolled the dice 3 times and found on the chart, and like my prompt was a dragon in a jelly bean factory fights aliens. And I remember my initial thought was like, what am I gonna write about? I'm like, ask me to write a story about an FBI agent or ask me
yeah.
a story about a prince rescuing the princess. Like, I'm on it. I've got it. But I'm like, a dragon in a jelly bean factory? Okay. And so like I wrote this really short story and then put it away and I didn't look at it for a year or two until 2020 when COVID happened.
I feel like
I
COVID caused a lot of damage, but it
Yes,
also prompted a lot of people to get in touch with their creative selves.
it did. Yeah, so the after school program that I was working at, like a lot of things changed that year. Like so much of our jobs changed.
Mm.
And I found that I had some extra free time at work. And so I was like, I want to be busy. So what am I going to do? So I was typing up old stories so that like I could have them at least on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
And I found Silly Jenny's story and I was like, this would be a really cute children's story.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. It took me like quite a few times. I like rewrote it and then I was like, could I draw this? Like I used to draw all the time when I was a kid and then like I became an adult and I just stopped doing that. And
Mm.
so I tried drawing a dragon and it took me like 6 different dragons to get to where I finally found one that was like, this doesn't look scary or too goofy. This looks like what she should look like.
Yeah.
And then it just was like kept falling into place. And then I finally published and I was like,
So you decided to self-publish. Did you use Kindle Direct Publishing? Did you use KDP or did you go Ingram Spark? Or like, what did you end up deciding to do?
yep, I went through Amazon, so KDP.
Okay.
Yeah, it just
Okay.
seemed like it was the
The simplest
easiest
thing to
thing.
do. Yeah, I
Read,
know sometimes
yeah.
I have heard different coaches and people who are a little bit more into the like they teach you how to do the self-publishing
Hmm.
stuff. That's not necessarily what we talk here in the space that I
Hmm.
have, but the people who talk about it and like it's their thing,
Yeah.
they suggest to start on KDP because it's the simplest to
Hmm.
navigate like uploading and that whole back end side of things.
Hmm.
But for those of you who are listening who don't know what KDP is Kindle Direct Publishing. It is the platform that Amazon uses for their print on demand publishing. So what happens is you do all the back end stuff, you write the story. In Becca's case, you illustrate the story, you design it, lay it out, you get a cover, all that stuff. All those files get uploaded to KDP. And then when somebody orders through Amazon, they print the book then once it's ordered. So that way you don't have to have inventory or do fulfillment.
Yeah.
So it is helpful in that regard. But
Yeah.
just a little side note for
Hmm.
people who might not know what self-publishing with through KDP actually is. So you illustrated it and uploaded.
Yeah.
So you had to do the layout then. Did you hire anybody to help you with that, or did you figure out how to make those files and everything?
Oh yeah, a lot of trial and error. I probably uploaded and re-uploaded it to KDP like 30 times because
Did you
one
end up
little thing would be
using?
off.
What did you use to design it?
Microsoft Word.
Oh my word. You were like determined then because that is not an easy thing to do layout in.
No, it was
No.
not. There was
I
a
was
lot of,
expecting you to say something like Canva or InDesign or something like that, but to take something that's heavily illustrated and put that into Word, that's impressive that you were dedicated enough to make that happen.
and I
Word
did
is
it
not
3 times
easy.
because that's what I used for all 3 of my things.
Oh, wow.
I think the journal I used Google Docs and I was
Okay.
able to figure that, and that was a little easier than
Yeah, that
Microsoft
makes
Word.
sense. So, in order to do all that, in order to make that self-publishing decision, you have to put on that entrepreneur hat. Is that a thing that comes easy to you, or is that something that you're like having to learn the ropes and put yourself outside your comfort zone?
A little bit of both. Like when it comes to like social media marketing, I feel like that's been pretty easy for me and like I enjoy it and it's fun
Mm-hmm.
and like I can do that. But like real marketing stuff or like doing ads and like really putting my name out there, like that's a lot harder and trying to figure out all of
Mm.
it. It's been a learning curve.
So, did you know that you were going to go the self-publishing route? Was that a decision you made right away, or did you try going the traditional publishing route first?
No, it was a pretty easy decision to just go straight to self-publishing. At that point, I it was more of like a fun project. Like it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't something that I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be super famous immediately. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to get this out there and for fun. And if something happens with it, like that's exciting. But I feel like back in 2020, I didn't have a whole lot of confidence in my writing just because I
Mm-hmm.
had rarely ever shared that with people. All of my short stories were mostly for myself. There was a handful of friends that I would share it with, but that was such a foreign concept to me. But I was like, this is fun and let's give it a go. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
certainly not against going the traditional publishing route, but it definitely takes a lot more like finances, which
Yeah.
was not an option for me back in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'll start with self-publishing and maybe someday, like with the right like story idea, like maybe I will try the traditional publishing route.
I like that you identified that at the time when you decided to put it out there, it was a project for you. It was just something in your heart that you wanted to share with people. Where do you feel like it kind of shifted a little bit where you're like, oh, there's marketing involved, there's an online business side to this? Like, where did that shift from just wanting to share a story to
Mm.
now, oh, I might need to learn
Yeah.
about these marketing things so that I can get it to more people?
Yeah. I think when I actually was like starting to sell like substantial amount of copies,
Yeah.
I was, I don't know, I did not really expect to get to where I am today. And I feel like I'm still like nowhere on that spectrum. I still feel like a no-name author, but like
Mm-hmm.
it's when I think I hit that like 100 mark, I was like, oh, like there's something to this. Like people are interested and people are excited about this and people are
Mm-hmm.
buying it. And I'm like, maybe there's more to like my books and like
Right.
actually putting it out there. And so I think it was after that point I really did start doing more social media posts and trying to put myself out there.
Yeah. So, what kind of marketing did you decide to go with that?
I've mostly done like social media, so like putting like
Mm-hmm.
I have an Instagram and a Facebook, and so just building my repertoire on there. I've done a few like ad campaigns on Facebook. I don't know if they were ever very successful, but I gave it a try.
And I feel like that's part of this whole thing. Like,
Yeah.
we just have to try things and see if they help us out, if they feel authentic to us, if they feel like something we want to continue, if we
Hmm.
feel like there's any return on the investment into the thing. We just have to try all the
Yeah.
things available to us
Hmm.
until we find our thing.
Yeah.
I I love the fact that you're willing to try things. Now, you just casually mentioned like you got past the 100 mark, but I know that you actually have gotten past like the 200 mark. And how long
Yeah.
has the book been out?
So it's been like 2.5 years.
Okay, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And you really haven't put like a whole lot of marketing behind it. This has
No,
been like word of mouth,
pretty much. Yeah.
organic, just
Yeah.
interest in the story. And
Hmm.
I think that it's important to note that because it comes down to two things. Like, organic selling of our books comes down to two things. It comes down to a good premise being told and a
Hmm.
good cover design
Hmm.
and your ability to just share about it to the right people.
Yeah.
And so I guess it comes down to three things. I said two, but it's three. So tell me what that story is about. The silly Jenny in the jelly bean factory. Sum it up in a sentence or two for us.
Yeah, so Silly Jenny is a dragon that has a jelly bean factory, and a sneaky alien tries to steal her jelly beans, and he actually does succeed, but it's her like very mini battle of trying to defend her factory.
But I want
Yeah,
to point out a couple of things here. One, you know that this is a story for little kids. You know that
yeah,
the whole point of the story is just to be silly.
yeah,
So you know who it is that you're targeting with this. You know what the story is about. You
yeah.
know exactly what story you're trying to tell and then what
Hmm.
tone to tell it.
Hmm.
And you designed a cover that reflects all that.
Yeah.
And so I think that when we're thinking about organic growth or organic sales of our books, we have to take that all into consideration. Who is
Hmm.
it that we're trying to sell to? What kind of book is this? So it seems to me like you know exactly who you're writing to. You designed a cover that reflects that.
Hmm.
You can sum up the story pretty simply. Like, your goal
Yeah.
is to not tell this elaborate, like, deep theological story or anything like that. You're
Right.
just wanting to have some fun.
Hmm.
And you want the kid who's reading it to just feel some fun and
Yeah.
laughter. And so your premise, your cover, and your story deliver on that promise of laughter.
Hmm.
And I think that sometimes we overcomplicate marketing when
Yeah.
that's really what marketing is, right? It's just
Hmm.
saying, this is what I'm going to do, delivering on it, right?
Yeah.
And so you've been able to do that to the social media following that you have, to the social networks that you have, even in your own personal life, like offline. And
Yeah.
so because of that, you're able to have sold 200 books at this point. And I
Yeah.
have to say, most people don't know this, but when you're self publishing, getting past that first 100 is actually really important, like a
Mm.
really big deal, because
Yeah.
you can hit the first 100 with just like friends and family,
Yeah.
right? But once you get past that, you're past that immediate circle of people who are just going to support you just because they're supporting you. And
Yeah.
now you're into the realm of people who are like, oh, I heard about this book and I think I'm going to check it out. And for most unfortunately, the majority of self-published novels, they don't get past that first 100.
Mm.
But you've gotten past it to 200 with
Yeah.
very little marketing. And
Yeah.
so it can only keep going from here, right? Like the
Yeah.
more you learn about marketing, the more you put into it. But I think it's really cool about your book is like you didn't just write the story. You didn't just stop there. You actually had a little toy
I have to.
designed from the dragon that you drew.
Yes.
And I just think they're absolutely adorable.
I love them so much. They're
And
like
I
my
was,
pride and joy.
do you sell those to people or is
No,
it just
not yet.
okay?
I
Well, that's
looked into it, but
okay.
that is almost just about as expensive as like traditional publishing. And I was like, I'm not there yet.
Yeah,
Someday
someday.
that is like the goal was to like be able
'Cause
to get a
I think
bunch of
they're
these.
adorable. I think
Yeah,
people would
they're just so
would
cute.
snatch those off the
Oh yeah.
wall for
Oh,
sure.
I've had a few people ask me like, "Oh, can I buy one?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"I don't have any yet,
You got
but
to get
yeah.
there. You're getting
Oh
there.
yeah,
You're getting there.
getting there someday."
Another thing you do have for sale is a coloring book that
Yeah.
coincides with the story, which
Yeah.
is fun, especially since your audience is more of a younger audience. And
Hmm.
so I think that's just so smart that you're not just keeping yourself to one book. You're figuring out ways to expand on that story and capture people in different ways. And so I
Yeah.
think that's really a neat thing.
Honestly, the reason why I like made that coloring book was because I've done not a lot, like a handful of craft vendor shows.
Mm,
And so like I wanted something else to put on my table other than just that, or something a little cheaper than the book, or be like,
mm.
hey, this is a stocking stuffer or something like
Right.
that. Like just
That's
something else.
smart.
Yeah.
It's smart. You're diversifying your product line and
Hmm.
giving different things, different options for the customer to
Yeah.
purchase. And that's really wise. So you also then published this journal. And what's the title of the journal?
The 100 New Challenge Journal is
And so
also a
are there
mouthful.
challenges in the journal or is it just a record keeping journal?
It's basically a record keeping journal. So all the
Okay.
pages are labeled experience 1 through 100. And there's
Okay.
like a handful of questions like, what did you do? Did you do it with anybody? What was the date? Like,
Oh,
was it
that's
fun?
fun.
Was it funny? Was it like hard? What is that?
Hmm.
And then there's like 4 stars at the bottom to, or 5 stars at the bottom to rate this experience. And then the back
Oh,
page is
fun.
just lined like lines for extra notes.
That is so cool. And did you design the cover for that? Because I saw it and I was like, that is a fun cover.
Yeah, I did design it, and then I had an artistic friend make it do it on her computer so that it looked way more official than my like drawing.
So you are resourceful. I have found most writers, if they want to tell their story and they want to get it, like if they're really driven
Mhm.
to get something into the hands of somebody, they will get resourceful and they will
Yeah.
find out a way to do that. And
Mhm.
I think that it's important to note that because sometimes it can be really easy, especially when we start doubting our
Yeah.
storytelling abilities, to be like, it's just hard. It's just really
Mm.
hard. And so it's a reason why I pull back and I don't do the thing that I
Mm.
feel called to do.
Yeah.
And it can be a way for us to avoid being obedient to God's calling on our lives. And
Yeah.
it can be an excuse that we give, but
Hmm.
there's really no excuse because if you
No.
really want to figure out how to do this, there is some way for you to do it. And there is
Oh yeah.
enough information out there to
Yes.
learn from. Would you
Yeah.
agree?
Oh, for sure. There's even just in all of this like this adventure of like self-publishing, there's been like so much to learn, but like you have to make that decision to do it, and then you got to stick to it.
Mm.
It's hard. Like even when I was drawing Jenny for the first time, like I there were some scary dragons that I drew. I was like, that looks not that doesn't look cute and fun. And I was like, I wanted to give up because I was like, this isn't worth it.
Yeah.
I'm not I'm not an artistic person. I wouldn't even know who to like reach out to or how to even do that about I'll write it and somebody else illustrate it. And I was like, there's plenty of opportunities I wanted to give up. But I was like, I feel like the Lord knew, no, this is something you need to like push through and try it again, try it again, try it again. And I was like, I
Mm.
feel like I'm the little engine that could. I can do this.
I love that little engine that could. Oh, that's so fun. There's just such a satisfaction of knowing that you didn't give up, too.
Yeah.
Like when we are in the thick of it and we want to give up, it can be so easy to just walk away from something. But then it's like this thing that nags at us. And it's like the, like I put that down and I walked away from it and I have a
Yeah.
regret over that. And I have this sense of like incompleteness,
Mm-hmm.
this sense of I have just left something undone that I was
Yeah.
supposed to do. And it can eat away at you
Mm-hmm.
if you don't attend to it
Yeah.
when it's something that you're really truly called to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really called to do it, you
Yes.
cannot leave it undone for
No.
very long before
Mm-hmm.
it starts to eat at you. And
Yeah.
so I think it's just something that we have to acknowledge as writers. Like in the middle of it, it is hard. But
Mm-hmm.
when you get on the other side of it and you hear that well done, good and faithful servant,
Yeah.
there's just such a sense of, wow, I got to partner with God on something. And how
Mhm.
cool is that?
Yeah.
And I know your book is not overtly Christian. It's
Yeah.
just a fun kid story. But to you, I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this feels just as much ministry as what you do on a day-to-day basis, right?
Oh yeah. As I have been creating like this, the journal and the children's book and the coloring book, I wanted to keep things like open for the masses. Not that like children's stories that are like allegorical to the Christian faith are bad. Like those have their place and they're amazing and they're
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. But that just wasn't what like I was called to do, at least with these stories. Like I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
never I'll never do that, but I working with kids in like after school programs, I've seen how kids have such hard times. Like I grew up in a very like sheltered home. Like I never experienced half of what these kids go through. And that was part of it. I just wanted something fun for them to distract kids from like the hardships of life. Like it doesn't have to have a lesson. Like you can just play and enjoy and have a good time. And so that was the one of the heart like things like behind the children's book. But even like my journal, like the journal has a much more like spiritual like undertone because of like how it came to be, but I still wanted it to be available to non-Christians. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to be a Christian to go try new adventures and try new things, but there was a lot of like my faith started that and made it come to be. Like didn't want to like force that upon people. You got to be a Christian or here's I got to force Jesus down your throat just so you can
Right.
understand why I created this journal.
Mm-hmm. So do you feel like, do you share, because I know you have two separate Instagram and you use a pen name, which is actually, it's just actually your name you were telling me
Yes.
earlier is actually your first name or your initials. You
Yeah.
go by a nickname of your second name.
Yes.
Becca's your nickname.
Yeah.
So you go by that in your everyday life, but for your
Mhm.
author website, you chose to use your initials. Can you talk a little bit about that decision? Was it
Yeah.
like kind of where did that come from?
So when I was writing stories back in, I don't know, like middle school or something, I had always put them under a file called JRK narratives. Like, that's just something I've always done. Like I don't really remember quite how I came up with it, but that's where JRK narratives came from. And so that was like that was like my obvious choice of like when I did become an author, I was like, I gotta use JRK narratives. And sometimes it still feels a little weird. I'm like, but I'm like, no, it's my thing and I'm sticking to it. And this
Yeah.
has been what I'm doing. But I wanted a little bit of separation between like my personal life and my author life. Not that like I care when people find out. I'm like, it's not, I'm not trying to have this big secret, even though
Hmm.
a lot of my friends throughout my life would say that I was keeping it a secret because they never knew my name, what my first name was. And then I'd be like, yeah, surprise, Becca's not my name. But yeah, it was just mostly from that and wanting to have some separation for when I like wanted it to, but I'm constantly like posting things on my personal like Instagram and tagging myself and my like author stuff and like resharing it on my author stuff. So it's not like I'm like, hey, it's me.
Would you do it differently if you were to like restart? Would you have just one Instagram?
I've thought about that. Like I feel like that would be a lot less complicated than like
Hmm.
posting and stuff. And maybe if I were to get famous or a little more like seen on social media, maybe I'd be like, we're just gonna do the one thing and
Yeah.
but that separation still of even for people, even like friends and stuff that like don't care about my author stuff,
Yeah.
I have to see every single post, you know.
Yeah.
even though
Makes
I
sense.
still kind of post just as much, but
I know it's really up to personal because I've had people ask me about that. Like, should I have two
yeah.
separate ones? Should I have just one? And like my rule of thumb is I keep things as simple as possible.
Mhm.
So just have one is my personal
Right.
opinion. But I also understand why people might want different ones. And I've
Yeah.
contemplated it a couple of times over like throughout the years. I'm like, should I? So I get it. And
Yeah.
but it's a little bit more of a complication. But if it
Yeah.
works for you,
Yeah.
go for it. So you go by JR Kopenski on Instagram for
Hmm.
your books.
Hmm.
Like I said, I think it really has to do with personal preference on whether or
Hmm.
not you use two Instagrams or not. Like, do you do anything else that has to do with your writing? Do you have a blog? Do you have a YouTube channel, podcast, anything like that?
I just have my website, so I'll
Okay.
update that a little bit, but it's mostly all the information that's been posted online now
Okay.
goes to my website.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, you've now been through this process of
Mhm.
self-publishing and you're starting to get into the rhythm of being an author. You now have these three separate things to sell. Is there any particular tool that you are like, if you're an indie author, you need to have this, or if you're self-published, you need to use this, or even just if you're a writer in general, make sure you have this one tool. Do you have anything like that?
I think it's more of a general like just keep Googling stuff. Keep
Mm,
looking like Pinterest has saved me so many times with giving me ideas for so many different things. And it's like just keep like looking stuff up and keep like broadening your horizons of what you can be posting or how to post or when to post. I'm still learning how like learning that. Like when should I post my reels? Like when will they get seen the most? I'm like, I don't know. Like so just just keep looking because you never know what you're going to find when you're scrolling Pinterest over and over again. Or
mhm.
there's just so many resources out there that it's just find what works for you.
Yeah. So other than social media, have you done anything in addition, like in person? Have you done any marketing stuff like book tours or anything like that? Like
I've
book
done a
signing,
couple
book
different little
launch?
things. Yeah. So I had when I first published Silly Jenny, my friends threw me like a little celebration of congratulations. So a bunch of friends came and I like read my book to my adult friends, except like two neighbor kids like from the neighborhood saw what we were doing and like, came over and were like, "Mm," and then like
That's
left and
awesome.
came back with money and bought some books. And I was like, this is amazing. Like this
That's
is
so
so much
fun.
fun.
I love
Uh,
it.
yeah, I've also done some craft shows. Those are easy to get into, and then having a little table display. So I've done that recently, which is I think one of the best things I've ever done was a local library was doing a stuffed animal sleepover. And so
Oh,
I dropped Jenny off with them that night and then picked her up the next morning and they just did so many cute things with all the stuffed animals, which is like all these children's stuffed animals. And I'm like,
right.
I'm an adult, but here's my stuffed animal. So that's been fun to kind of
Have you been
connect
able
with
to
that
get your
library.
book into your library?
So I gave them a copy of the book, so they were super excited. We had some good conversations. So I still have to go to my local library, which I
Mm.
need to do before I move, but like, hey, here's my book.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Okay. I want to ask you, like,
yeah.
you have such a shiny personality and you have written such a joyful thing. What, though, and maybe there hasn't been, but I just want to ask this. What has been the hardest part of this writing journey and publishing journey?
Mm. I think when I published the journal this last fall, that's been the most like vulnerable that I've been. Like it's easy to hide behind the mask of I'm a children's author and I'm happy all the time and this is a
Yeah.
fun story. And but the journal came from a much not dark but darker place of needing to share my heart with people. And even when I'm like posting like reels or Instagram posts about my journal, it's much more vulnerable because I'm sharing more of my deep heart of like the things that I've gone through, which is mostly like walking through grief in the last year and a half. I lost my grandma from COVID in 2021. And that was the first time I'd ever lost anybody I was super close to. And like, I just, it was super difficult. But like, once I started coming out of that and going through the grief process, there was just like the reason why. So I published this journal was because there was a moment in my grief journey where my Nana loved cooking, loved it. And we would always like cook together, or I'd be like, go downstairs and she'd have like cooked this meal. Like, ooh, don't mind if I do. Thank you. And there was a moment like a month or two after she had died that I was going to try a new recipe. And like part of me just was like, I don't want to do this. Nothing in me wants to make this because she's not here to share it with me. And this is too difficult. And I was just like, I don't want to. And I had this moment where I was like, no, if I like choose to not do this, that's not honoring her and her memory. And I don't want to let grief like stop me from living my life. Like I'm like, because I'm going to let this will snowball. It's going to turn into me not going out and having fun, me not living my life just because I'm too sad because she's not here. And so I made that conscious decision. I was like, I'm going to do this recipe. And then it was like, you know what? I'm going to do 70 new things in this new year. Because this was in like December of 2021. So when I was looking at 2022, I was like, I'm going to do 70 new things. I'm just going to honor her by that. She would have turned 70 last year. And so it was my way to keep her close and go through the grief process and still live my life. And then I turned it into the journal like last fall when I was like, I feel like I want to share this idea. Like this has been so helpful for me because like I hit the 70 items or new experiences in October and I was like, I'm so glad I did this. Like this helped push me forward. It helped keep me like living my life and not stopping and not just letting grief overtake me. But like sharing that has been the hardest because I'm sure everybody knows being
Yeah,
vulnerable with other people is really hard, especially
it
when you're
is.
putting it on social media. You want to put out like everything's fine, I'm fine, life is fine, everything is perfect. And then really it's especially when you're walking through grief, like nothing is fine, nothing is perfect, everything is falling apart.
Mhm.
But like somehow I have to like still live my life. So what does this look like?
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
And I think that it is important to make a note of those moments, a note of the things that are harder,
Mhm.
because in the moments of celebration, the moments of celebrating, selling
Yeah.
200 children's books, or a moment when it's like, hey, I launched another book into the world,
Yeah.
even just that is a huge
Yeah.
accomplishment. It's easy to, like you said, just wear that mask of it's fine, everything's fine,
Yeah.
when a lot of I was just writing something down, writing a story that I'm working on, and I wrote the sentence like, isn't that how life goes, where we have both the exciting and fun and joyous moments, but then we also have the serious, heartbreaking ones as well.
Mhm.
And if we don't have both, we can't appreciate one or the other.
Yeah.
And so as you were talking, I'm like, your heart really is for people who are going through hard things to experience some joy in life.
Mhm.
Like in your
Yeah.
children's book, that's what you talked about. And even now with this
Yeah.
journal, like at the heart of it, you want people to experience the goodness and like the beauty of life, even though they might be walking through some hard things. And so I
Mhm.
just love your heart for your person you're serving and the fact that it looks differently in the two things that you designed, but at the core of it, they're
Yeah.
both the same. Because I think it could be very easy for us to look at it and be like, are you a children's book author or do you make journals? Like it can be
Right.
really easy, I think, sometimes for us when we're like in this whole marketing thing and they're like,
Mhm.
pick a niche, and they're like, or niche or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And they're like, you have to focus in. And I think when we're crafting and creating stories, even your journal is telling a story. It's engaging your your person that you're making that journal for. It's like engaging them in the story. It's inviting them to continue to live a story
Yeah.
even in this hard time. Or maybe it might not be super hard for them, but
Yeah.
your goal is for them to live the story, right?
Yeah.
And I just think that's a beautiful thing that you have identified and you're not afraid to do. You're like, I'm just gonna serve these people that I have been called to serve in these unique ways and
Yeah.
not be afraid of how different they are from one another.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So once again, thank you for sharing that, because
Yeah.
I know that is personal and vulnerable, and it's always like we have to be vulnerable in order to be
Mhm.
creative, but at the
Yep.
same time, it's absolutely terrifying.
Yep.
So on that note, what piece of advice do you have for writers who are trying to do this whole writing thing? They're
Yeah.
engaging on this writing journey. They are getting to this publishing stage and they're navigating the whole business and marketing and all the things. What advice
Yeah.
do you have for that person?
I feel like it's like twofold. It's one,
Yeah.
don't stop being a student. Like
Mm.
keep Google searching, like I was saying earlier, keep looking at Pinterest, keep what's marketing strategies? When do I post on TikTok? When do I do this? Keep looking at all of that because you never know when you're going to find what works.
Mm.
And just keep trying things and keep putting yourself out there. I was like thinking earlier of it's like a fishing analogy of like when you're going fishing and you're like casting your bait. You might cast it 20 times and you might only get 3 fish, but if you cast it 0 times, you will get 0 fish.
Yeah.
Like you never know. And there's been things I've reached out to different like places and either got rejected or got like just ignored, and which is fine. But then things have happened where it's like even taking silly Jenny to the library, like that worked out. And I was like, how fun was that? This is
Yeah.
amazing. Like it worked. Or just kind of trying to develop that like thick skin of
Mhm.
it's okay if people say no. It's okay if like they don't like the book, or it's okay when kids grow out of it and then they donate it to the thrift store and then your friend finds your book in the thrift store. And it's like, well, I don't know if should have told you this, but your book's here. And I was like, that's I'm not upset, but that's weird.
Yeah,
Like
I can imagine.
let's just keep trying. Or even that's part of the heart of the my journals, like try new things. And like this for me right now is trying something new. I've
Yeah.
never been an interviewee on the podcast. So I was like we always have to try new things. You never know what's going to come of it, and that's the fun adventure of it.
Exactly. That's the fun adventure of it. Thank you so much, Becca, for being on here with us today. Before we go, I want you
Yeah.
to make sure to tell everybody how to find you. How can we support you? Are
Yeah.
you working on anything new?
Mm. I'm always working on, on new things. Like I've got ideas for sequels for Silly Jenny. I've even a prequel for Silly Jenny. I'm like I have other children's book stories that I've started. I'm I'm in a weird place with my life, but also like with my dreams. And I kind of
Mm,
I want to take the next step and upgrade because I don't know if anyone like would know this, but I used Sharpies to draw Silly Jenny's story, which worked, but
mm,
I don't really want to do that in the future. And so I'm looking, trying to be a learner and looking into, okay, what like tools do I need to
mm.
upgrade my stuff? So I'm stalled in that regards, but I'm also working on a couple of different novels. So there's that. And like, I just have many hats of
Yeah,
what kind of author I am because I'm like, I don't want to just do one thing. And yeah, there'll be in the coming years, there'll be definitely more stories, which is exciting. But as far as social media, people can find me at JRK Narratives. I have a website that's jrknarratives.com. I'm on Facebook and Instagram as JRK Narratives. And then my more personal or adventure like Instagram is Traveling Becca. So,
okay.
yeah.
Very good. Very cool. Thank you again for joining us on the podcast today. Thank you
Yes.
for sharing your writing journey, and thank you for just sharing your heart for your the things that you've created for people and the reasonings behind them. And thank you so much for just pulling back the curtain a little bit for
Yeah.
us so we can just see the insights into what it is to be a writer, what it
Yeah.
is to be a self-published writer, and the journey that we go on in this whole publishing thing that we are doing. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being on the show.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun. I was so glad to try this out.
And thank you for listening to today's episode.
Mhm.
Join us next week as we continue the conversation on the business of Christian fiction. Bye.